Hi, I'm Renee Seltzer, founder of Feeding My Kid, and in today's episode I want to talk about poop and how to get kids to poop and what causes constipation and some different things that you can do about it. So this is really going to be a information overload on everything related to poop. And the funny thing is, if you had asked me a couple years before I had my twins, I would have never even been able to acknowledge that I go to the bathroom, right? It was just kind of a subject that I never talked about. I never wanted to talk about, and now after you have kids, that's pretty much all you talk about. So let's get ready and let's start talking about how to get kids to poop. So some of the causes, constipation is really common among babies and toddlers. So it can be troublesome and it can be worrisome, but for the most part, through all the tips that we're going to give you in this video, you're going to know how to help your child overcome this, short term and long term. We're going to cover foods to eat and really a lot of the foods that are causing this that you might not even know are causing constipation in kids. What are some of the root causes of constipation? You might be surprised. We all know, you have to eat more fibrous foods and drink more water. But did you know that drinking juice, like apple juice or other types of juice, actually can really cause more constipation in your child? Prune juice and pear juice, they generally can help you because of the properties of those foods. But if they're drinking, if your kids are drinking a lot of just juice in general, that actually might be causing them to be more constipated. And that's because sugar actually constipates. So if you look at your child's diet, and they're drinking a lot of juice and they're eating a lot of ketchup and they're eating those kids' yogurts, you'd be surprised by they're probably actually eating a toxic amount of sugar a day. I know that sounds crazy because you're thinking, well, ketchup and yogurt and all these foods are so healthy, but they actually are really just a sugar delivering device. So, really start to evaluate, read labels, look at what your kids are eating, and start looking to see how much sugar your child is taking in. So one of the first things to do is to pull back on how much sugar your child is eating. That could be really easy. So buy ketchup without sugar, without any added sugar. There's definitely those brands out there, so look for that. Look for Greek yogurts and different yogurts without sugar, and maybe add some honey and then pull back on the amount that you add to it until your child is comfortable with that sweetness, and then keep taking it down. So those are really specific food choices, but pulling down on how much sugar your kids are eating is definitely going to be a really big reason, helper to get your kids from being constipated. One other tip is how a child goes to the bathroom. Especially if they're just potty training, they might go to the bathroom a tiny bit and they get so excited that they run out and they're not quite finished. And that actually can cause a little bit of a blockage and really kind of start to build up and cause constipation issues. So it's really important that you kind of coax your child to make sure that they go to the bathroom all the way. And if that means a couple trips within 20-30 minutes, that's perfect. But that first little time that they go to the bathroom, make sure that they keep trying to go to the bathroom to get it all out, because that will actually further constipate your child. Definitely potty training in itself can be constipating because the child's kind of nervous and scared to try to go to the bathroom, and that in itself could cause, issues. So, how the child goes to the bathroom. And on a completely unrelated potty training video that we'll do later, try not to reward your kids with sweets as it relates to potty training. So we do a little bit of TV time because our kids really don't get a lot of TV, so it's like a huge thing for them when they go number 2 in the potty. But try not to tie food reward with potty training. And in general, food shouldn't really be a reward system because it teaches kids to be emotional eaters, or it can teach kids to be emotional eaters, and none of us want that. We don't want our kids to turn to food for comfort as they get older, because that can lead to weight issues. So we talked about potty training, short-term fixes for constipation. A lot of doctors recommend Miralax. A quarter of a cap full of Miralax can go a long way. I really think that might be a great fix, and I've given it to my twins occasionally. But I want to really kind of cover all the different ways you guys can get your kids to go to the bathroom without the need of a laxative. So, if you really need it, definitely, talk to your doctor and see what they recommend. They might have a couple different options for you. Some parents turn to prune juice, pear juice. I actually like to give my kids prunes. They love them, they eat them, and that's kind of their sweet for the day. So if I notice that they're not really going to the bathroom that day, I throw in a bunch of prunes and I let them have at it. So, but that's something to think about, is that children should be going number 2 once a day. I know you're probably thinking, well, I don't even go that fast. We actually all should be going to the bathroom once a day. So I think it's time to evaluate your family diet if you really notice that all of you guys aren't going to the bathroom. It might just be the foods that you're eating. So how much fiber should my child be getting? If your child is 2 years old, they should be getting about 7 grams of fiber a day. And if you read the back of the packet, it's really actually kind of challenging to get fiber out of packaged foods. So you really have to go in with intention and plan a high fiber meal for your child, because boxed foods, processed foods are very, very low in fiber. So really kind of the whole idea of our video series is to make you more present of what is in our food, the health implications of what we're eating, and to give you tons and tons of ideas on how to, improve the health of your children and what you're feeding them. So let's really start to talk about the foods that you're eating. So food is really one of the biggest reasons kids are constipated, and the foods that we give to kids these days, the kids' food, is really considered empty calories for the most part. It's very devoid of fiber. So if you have your mac and cheese and your chicken nuggets, I know it's crazy to think, but mac and cheese is considered an empty calorie. It has very little nutrition as opposed to the calories that it's giving you. So when you're really thinking about all these types of kids' foods that we eat, that's really those kind of empty calories are what's causing all of our digestive issues. So focusing on foods that are high in fiber, and that could be everything from, instead of a muffin in the morning, to switch to oatmeal in the morning, because rolled oats are an amazing food to start your day off. It has just tons of benefits to keep your kids concentrated better at school. It's gonna help everything flow better. It's gonna, kind of stabilize their mood. So if you have, children that are kind of up and down with tantrums, actually introducing a lot more fiber foods is gonna really help streamline their moods. You're gonna have less of these throughout the day. And who doesn't want less tantrums, right? Because I'm a big fan of less tantrums, especially having twins. So once they go, they both go. It's great. Okay, so we talked about some fiber foods. So prunes are great, chickpeas. So what we do with chickpeas, and I'll actually show you some recipes on feedingmykid.com, is I just roast them in the oven, add a little bit of seasoning to them, and boom, they're an amazing snack. And on our site we have, and in the description below of the video, we have whole recipes of high fiber food recipes. So make sure you bookmark that, save that one, and turn to it every time you need it. So I would aim for at least 1 meal a day that's really high in fiber. And we have on the site a list of amazing snacks that are high in fiber that include chia seeds, flax seeds, which are insoluble and soluble fiber, tiger nuts, which are a tubular, which is a really kind of cool thing. They're not nuts at all. They're a little root ball, and they actually come sliced now, which is new. But amazing at fiber. So really kind of consider the type of snacks that you're giving. If you're giving your kids a lot of those goldfish and a lot of kind of Ritz crackers, empty calories, and they're actually making the constipation issue worse. So as I mentioned, kids should be pooping once a day. And what happens when they don't poop once a day? They actually start to get backed up in the belly. And the risk of that is they're not as good of eaters, right? Because where us as adults, even if we're backed up, we still stuff our faces sometimes. They actually really are very in tune to their bodies. And if they start to feel a little bit backed up, they eat less. So if your kids are constipated very often, you're gonna notice that will actually tweak how much they're eating. So that'll affect how much they're eating. And when you kind of look at it, like if they're not really that into the meal, constipation might be one of your reasons. And then if you look, hey, if I gave them mac and cheese, they ate it anyway. Well, if a child really loves a meal, they're gonna eat it anyway, right? Even if they're a little bit uncomfortable, because they love the meal. And if they're okay about the meal and they're not that into it, they're probably not going to eat it. So it's really important that we keep our kids regular so we can go ahead and introduce a bigger variety of foods to them, and we don't have to wait for them to love the food in order to eat the food, right? So these are all the different things to think about when it comes to constipation. So we talked about all the different tips is reduce how much sugar your kids are eating, Eat a lot more fibrous foods. So as I mentioned in the description of the video below, there's going to be all these great recipes on how to get a lot more fiber into your diet. You want to try to help your kids go to the bathroom all the way. So really how they, empty their bowels is going to be really important in helping with constipation. And drinking a ton of water. So encouraging your kids to drink water throughout the day, that's really going to help a lot. We have a couple different articles on the site on how to do that, and we'll create a separate video on how to get your kids to drink more water. And then pulling back on juices. So like I mentioned with sweets in general, but juice, really juice is more considered a junk food these days than it's actually considered a health food. So have your kids eat the fruit, because when they eat the actual apple or they eat the orange, they're getting more fiber from it, where when they make the juice, especially processed juice, that comes in the jug or the container, they strip out all the fiber. So what your kids are really left with in that juice is straight sugar, and that wreaks havoc in the digestive tract. So you'll start to see a theme in the videos on how do we pull back sugar for kids. And that isn't, to deny the kids a childhood, but it's really to help ensure that they're going to have a healthy lifelong eater. So that's really the important part, is how do we create the behaviors and the healthy habits today that when they're 30 and 40 and 50, they'll be a really healthy adult. And they probably won't have diabetes, and they probably won't have chronic heart disease and all these other issues because of what you're doing for them today. So that's really important. We're actually going to do a separate video if you have a baby that's constipated, as they have different kinds of issues as opposed to a toddler, preschooler, or school-aged child. So this video is really to focus on the toddlers and up, and we'll cover separately what do you do when your kids are under 12 months and they're constipated. So stay tuned for that video. So definitely stay tuned. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. Follow us on Pinterest, and join our community on Facebook. And we've actually created a group on Facebook. So make sure you search for that under groups to where you can ask all of your questions and really bond with other people that also care about what their kids are eating. So make sure you check out all of that on Facebook, and subscribe on our website to get our newsletter.